Uh, Ministers, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as appropriate, considering wherever you are. Welcome to the third session of the 10th China Roundtable on Accessions on the achievements and opportunities of the China program. My name is Usman Ali Khilji, and I head the Asia and Pacific desk at the Institute of Training and Technical Cooperation of the WTO. I will be moderating today's session. Before we proceed, let me first make a few technical remarks. The three sessions of the roundtable will be recorded. Well, the first two have been recorded, and this one will be recorded as well. And these will be available on the WTO webpage after the event. Interpretation is also available in the three official WTO languages. And you can use the right channel on the bottom of the screen in Zoom to access these. For 10 years, the China program has provided targeted support to LDCs across 5 main pillars, namely the China WTO Accessions Internship Program, annual China roundtables on WTO accessions, increasing participation of LDCs in WTO meetings, South-South dialogue on LDCs in WTO meetings, and LDC's trade policy review follow-up workshops. Before we proceed, I'd like to set the scene in terms of, we will start this expert session by replaying a short video of the China program, including its achievements across the different pillars. I will then call on our distinguished speakers to comment on the video and provide their own views on ways in which the program can better serve its targeted beneficiaries, considering the current global economic realities. So we will pause here now for the video. Please, if you could play the video.
As a young professional from a least developed country, this was a great opportunity for me to understand the challenges that least developed countries face, something which I never fully understood before joining the WTO.
Working with a team of highly qualified individuals with decades of experience who placed their full trust in me really showed me that I can do whatever I set my mind to.
Enhanced my knowledge of international trade rules, helped me better understand the rulemaking process and trade negotiations, and improved my skills regarding trade policy analysis as well as legal analysis of trade regimes.
I really enjoy working in international environments. I really love the opportunity to speak in French, in Spanish, and English as much as I can with so many people from different backgrounds and do research in these different languages.
It skilled me in approaching issues with a global perspective and made me aware of country-specific issues as well.
Definitely provided me with a general overview of the WTO disciplines that was very helpful when I started working at the ACWL, where I currently hold the position of counsel, and I provide legal advice to developing countries on WTO-related issues.
I currently work in the Aid for Trade project of UNDP office in Uzbekistan, and one of the main objectives of our project is to facilitate the accession process of Uzbekistan to the WTO. In that respect, the experience gained in the WTO Secretariat was invaluable for me.
If not for the China program, I wouldn't even be working at the World Bank where I am, because it was through the connections that I made during my time working for the Sessions Division that I ended up landing this job.
The greatest moment actually happened 2 days after I joined the WTO Secretariat. My home country have the accessions working party meeting in this beautiful building at the WTO. I could actually see the multilateral trade negotiations happen in front of me.
My favorite moment was hosting the 9th China Roundtable last year. I thought it was a very meaningful way to reflect on the concept of WTO membership, universality, and what accession means for the trading system, both present and future.
Thank you. I'm sure all of you will enjoyed that video. This session will start with our first speaker, Ms. Maria Martins de Silva, Economic Advisor to the Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs of Timor-Leste, followed by Ambassador Ahmed Makaila, Permanent Representative of Chad to the WTO and LDC Coordinator, and Mr. Tom Tombeki, Deputy Director of Price Analysis, Ministry of Commerce and Industry of Liberia. Finally, I will give the floor to our last speaker, Ambassador Li Chenggang, Permanent Representative of China to the WTO, to provide his assessment on the achievements and future of the China program. Following interventions from the speakers, I will open the floor for an open discussion. If you would like to make a statement, please raise your hand, and our technical team will promote you to a panelist. Please do join as panelists so that you can take the floor. For questions only, please use the question and answers box, and I will bring your question to our panelists' attention. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Maria to provide her views on the benefits of the China program based on her experience as a former China program intern in the Accessions Division. Ms. Martins de Silva, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Osman, Mr. Moderator, for this opportunity. Greetings from Timor-Leste to the distinguished participants. I would like to start by congratulating the government of the Republic of China on your 10th anniversary of the China program. It is my great pleasure to intervene as a speaker at today's event. As you already know, I am one of the China internship program under Pillar 1 of the China program, beneficiaries to have worked at the WTO Accessions Division between March 2017 and January 2018. Prior to this experience, myself, along with the Timorese delegations led by our then chief negotiator, Mr. Stanislao da Silva, we participated in our historical event, of which marked Timor-Leste's first step in its accession process, whereby Timor-Leste first obtained its observer status in December 2016. Soon after this application process, I was among the fortunate young professionals to have been granted the opportunity to work at the WTO Secretariat, to be able to learn the first-hand experience of the highly technical procedures from some of more advanced accessions, including from those of the newly acceded members at the time, which have given me a great benefit in assisting the ongoing Timor-Leste accession process to date. Distinguished participants, the China internship program is among a few internship programs that has offered the opportunity to observer countries, such as my country, to learn and work as an intern at the WTO Secretariat, to be able to understand the system and the technical procedures as part of practical learning experience, which will directly benefit the acceding countries in the accession process. I would like to reemphasize and to thank this program for this rare opportunity. In addition, throughout my working experience at the WTO Secretariat, I was also able to make a lifetime friendship with the staff of the Accessions Division under the dynamic leadership of Madam Director, Ms. Maika Oshikawa. Today, as I'm delivering this speech as a delegate, I am proud to say that my 10-month-long internship through the China Internship Program has greatly contributed to Timor-Leste's accession process, which has advanced expeditiously since early 2020. Being able to assist the process earlier on, I was able to assist and understand the gaps and opportunities that exist in the accession process due to my technical understanding on the procedures that I have learned throughout my internship. Furthermore, having learned from other more advanced dossiers has given me a greater vantage point to assess and approach members' interests, which I believe is quite pertinent in this process. Distinguished participants, in closing, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of the Republic of China and to the WTO Secretariat for your immense support during my learning experience at the WTO. At the same time, I would also like to thank the government of Timor-Leste for all its trust, which has enabled my support to Timor-Leste's accession process. I hope that further support could be granted to my other fellow Timorese to further strengthening and contributing the human capacity development in expediting our accession process, which I firmly believe will enable us to better optimize the benefits of our accession for the prosperity and the well-being of our people in integrating into the global value chain. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for sharing your views and your first-hand experience with us. Now, let me turn to Ambassador Ahmed Makaila, Permanent Representative of Chad to the WTO and the LDC Coordinator, to provide his perspectives on the China program and its future from the point of view of LDCs. Please note that his presentation would be in French, so if you would like to turn on interpretation to access it in a language of your choice, please do so. Thank you. Floor is yours, Ambassador Ahmed Makaila, Permanent Representative of Chad to the WTO and LDC.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. And thank you very much in particular for that technical mention, which is very important, generally speaking. When we speak in a language other than English, the beginning of our statement is often a little interrupted, and your reminder was very welcome in that regard. I would like to begin by thanking China and thanking the Secretariat for having organized these 3 days of discussions on the issue of accessions of LDCs at the WTO. Since its creation in 2011, the China program has seen the holding of 10 other high-level dialogues, such as that which brings us together today. They have allowed capacity building via exchange between countries, between those who are acceding and those who have succeeded in their accessions. And by doing so, these roundtables have, without any doubt, assisted countries that are acceding or in the process of accession to get ever closer to the WTO. During his intervention, the Minister Coordinator of the group of LDCs highlighted that LDCs are aspiring to accede to the WTO in order to be able to best integrate themselves into the global economy and best draw on international trade to promote their development. Such integration is necessary in order to create favorable conditions for the development of trade and investment, and to ensure sustainable development respecting multilateral trade rules. However, accession to the WTO is no easy feat. It presents numerous challenges to overcome. Thus, the importance of the China Roundtable on LDC accessions. I would like to express the appreciation of the group of LDCs with regard to the 4 other pillars, which are also included in the China program, namely the internship program on WTO accessions, increasing the participation of LDCs in WTO meetings, South-South dialogue, and on LDCs and development, as well as the LDC trade policy review follow-up workshops. We hope we can continue forward with your support, as not only do the particular challenges facing LDCs remain, but alas, they have been worsened by the consequences of the pandemic. Documents produced by the Secretariat and interventions from experts have constituted a significant contribution to our common reflection. The group of LDCs welcome this initiative, which is extremely constructive and rich in information. In light of the discussions that we have had within this 10th roundtable, we have benefited from highly relevant presentations with regard to the real impact of this program on LDC accessions and in terms of human and institutional capacity building. Now, if you ask the question of how can the China program help LDCs going forward, the LDCs would simply respond that this is a program which has shown just how relevant and useful it is, not only in supporting acceding LDCs, but also with regard to other important priorities relating to the effective participation of LDCs in discussions and negotiations at the WTO. And I think the best evidence and best testimony that we could make of that is that we've just heard from our colleague from Timor-Leste. It is clear that all countries have been affected to a greater or lesser extent by COVID-19. However, the LDCs were the most severely affected, given that they do not have resilient health systems and economies, and that includes supply chains and the adequate transportation to face this multi-dimensional crisis, which is affecting both our economies and our societies. In this difficult context, and given the multifaceted challenges faced, it is essential that we take into account the specific needs of LDCs, particularly acceding LDCs, to help them to overcome the barriers that they face on this journey. We welcome the view held by acceding LDCs with regard to multilateral trade rules and their determination to bring themselves into a line with WTO accession obligations. And this, of course, despite the particular difficulties that they face, namely a lack of infrastructure and reliable access to financing. Here, we should welcome the important efforts deployed by acceding LDCs to strengthen their legal and institutional frameworks, as is necessary to design coherent and wise policy and to diversify their export products and markets. All of that contributes to strengthening transparency and the predictability of their trade regimes. And contributes to greater transparency in the multilateral trading system as a whole. It is therefore essential for LDCs to use multilateral trade rules to overcome the challenges that they face by being a stakeholder in them. In other words, an important player in issues under negotiation at the WTO. We reiterate our will to strengthen our beneficial cooperation with China. We need financing from China to support us in acting on our priorities, and accession is a key priority. With this in mind, our group encourages the Secretariat to do the necessary by providing all possible technical assistance in order to facilitate the finalization of the accession process for the LDCs who are knocking at the door of the WTO, and there are 8 of them. Furthermore, the group of LDCs encourages the members of the WTO within the remaining negotiation frameworks to show moderation when they seek to obtain concessions and commitments from acceding LDCs. Concessions must be reasonable, and members must take into account the limited level of development and capacity of LDCs in terms of regulatory aspects, human resources, and institutional, financial, and even administrative limitations. The LDCs wholeheartedly hope that the China program can continue as long as the last LDC has not achieved its objective of acceding to the WTO. Thank you very much.
For sharing your assessment on the benefits and future of the China program from the perspective of an LDC. Now let me turn to Mr. Tom Beke, Deputy Director of Price Analysis, Ministry of Commerce and Industry of Liberia, to provide his assessment on the China program and its future from the point of view of a recently acceded member. I also understand that Tom was an NTP here at the WTO earlier on, so I mean, maybe he could also tell us something about that experience. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Greetings from Liberia. It's a pleasure to serve as a panelist on this panel. Let me begin by firstly extending my thanks and appreciation to the Chinese government for facilitating Liberia's WTO accession and post-accession implementation. Liberia is the co-coordinator of the G7 Plus WTO accession group, a group constituting 9 fragile and conflict-affected states. It was established in 2017 during the MC12. For fragile and conflict-affected LDCs, accession to the WTO is a pathway to peace and stability, and Liberia happens to be a success story. Fragile and conflict-affected LDC face unique challenges that have been further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Public health restrictions were imposed and are still in effect, and these restrictions further impacted LDCs and conflict-affected states' ability to trade. And this impact led to trade-related difficulties and economic fallout. Last year, my boss, Minister Mawani G. Dix, submitted a proposal on the action-oriented work program on trade for peace at the WTO. This proposal was presented to Director General Ngozi to build an understanding among WTO members that the relationship between trade and peace is very critical. And LDCs, as well as fragile and conflict-affected states, stands to benefit the most in this direction. Ensuring fragile and conflict-affected states integration in the multilateral system requires the support of all WTO members, and specifically the China program that have been very instrumental in facilitating sessions, processes of fragile and conflict-affected states, as well as ensuring that they meet up with the negotiation commitments that were made during negotiations, and ensuring fulfillment of their obligation as WTO members during post-accession. The G7 plus WTO accession group is seeking the support and consideration of its proposal by the WTO ministers at the pending MC12 whenever it is convened. In this vein, the fragile and conflict-affected states we also like to solicit the support of the government of China in this regard to ensure that fragile and conflict-affected states challenges in integrating into the multilateral system are addressed. For the future of the China program, we would like to appreciate the government and people of China and request the continuous support in the direction of capacity building for fragile and conflict-affected states involved in their accession process, and ensure the commitment that were made for government that have succeeded in gaining WTO membership continues. For Liberia specific case scenario, we are gearing up for the trade policy review process at the WTO. In this vein, Liberia is soliciting the support of WTO members as well as the China program in ensuring that we can have a successful outcome after our trade policy review at the WTO. For my experience as a former intern at the WTO, I was an intern under the project of the French and Irish Mission Internship Program. I served as an intern 10 months at the Liberia Mission in Geneva, ensuring representation of Liberia at the WTO meetings, reporting back to capital, and ensuring that our obligation with the WTO are achieved, specifically in terms of notification obligations. In close of my presentation, I would like to once again extend my gratitude and appreciation to the government and people of China for their continued support to fragile and conflict-affected states, as well as ensuring that trade and peace can be used as a catalyst to economic growth and development for least developed countries. At this background, I would like to close my presentation. Thanks very much.
For your perspectives on the benefits and future of the China program, and from the point of view of a recently acceded member, as well as one from a fragile and conflicted affected state, and a member of the G7 plus WTO accessions group. Thank you very much. Finally, let me now call upon Ambassador Li Chenggang permanent representative of China to the WTO, to provide his assessment on the achievements and future of the China program. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Excellencies and audiences around the world. Before talking about today's topic, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the Secretariat for the continuous hard efforts on implementing the China program in the past 10 years, and also to the Secretariat and experts for drafting the report of accession of LDCs to the WTO, which I think is of great help in summarizing the past, assessing the present, and enlightening the future work of the China program. 1 month ago, China just celebrated its 20th anniversary of accession to the WTO. It's well known that China achieved great economic development by integrating into the multilateral trading system. Today, China has become the world's second largest economy and a major trading partner of over 120 countries and regions. However, it is also well known that China experienced 15 years of painful negotiations before acceding the WTO. After its accession, China struggled to clean up more than 2,000 laws, regulations, and department rules at the central level, and over 119,000 local policies and regulations at subnational levels to meet its commitments. Therefore, China fully understands the significance of accessing the WTO for developing countries, particularly the LDCs, and the difficulties faced by them in the accession and post-accession period. So China is always willing to provide help within its capacity to developing countries and LDCs to facilitate the accession process and integration into the WTO. In 2002, the WTO adopted the guiding principles for LDC accession to encourage LDCs to better participate into the accession work and other WTO configurations. However, at the same time, the financial difficulties of participating in WTO activities faced by LDC officials became increasingly prominent. In order to further expand the sources of GTF funding, at the 2005 Hong Kong Ministerial Conference, WTO members launched the Aid for Trade initiative, which aims to help developing countries, especially the LDCs, better implement the WTO agreement and obtain benefits from it. China actively responded to this initiative. From 2008 to 2010, China contributed $200,000 to the initiative each year. In 2011, the 10th year of its accession to the WTO, China doubled the annual fund to $400,000 and established China's LDCs and accession program under the Aid for Trade initiative. Up to date, China has contributed over $7.8 million to the various WTO trust funds since 2008. Different from the GTF fund, the China program is clearly under the framework of the Aid for Trade initiative, focusing on helping LDCs better access and integrate into the WTO and multilateral trading system. Over the past 10 years, the China program demonstrated its unique value through targeted assistance to LDCs on accession and other aspects through sustaining capacity building and experience sharing. Just like Minister Wang Wentao said in his opening remarks, we are pleased to say that 6 LDCs have acceded to the WTO with the help of China program. During the 10 years, a total of 39 young interns from more than 25 developing countries, including 13 from LDCs, have been funded by the program. As is indicated by the accession report, many of the former interns have become part of the accession negotiating teams or the WTO team, and all joint institutions as trade professionals engaged in WTO-related affairs. So far, 10 China roundtables have been held, including today's meeting. The roundtable provides a platform for high-level exchanges between acceding governments and the WTO members on accession or post-accession themes and experiences. The pillar of funding participation of LDCs in WTO meetings has funded 31 events, of which 16 activities were directly related to Director General's consultative framework mechanism on cotton. The South-South dialogue has been held 4 times and greatly contributed to the coordination among LDCs and the South-South partners on topics of mutual interest in the multilateral negotiations. The pillar of funding follow-up workshops to LDC's trade policy review has supported 6 such workshops, and a regional trade policy review roundtable workshop for 5 Asian LDCs was organized in 2007 in Myanmar. For the future work, I would like to share 3 points. First, China will keep hearing the LDC's demands. China always believes that if we want to build a community with a shared future for mankind, no one should be left behind. By receiving and analyzing the demands, we hope China program could provide more targeted help, which I think is a key of the China program's success in the past 10 years. Second, joint efforts are needed on addressing activities and problems faced by LDCs in the accession. It's worrisome that there has been no LDC finishing accession negotiation since 2016. In recent years, LDC's challenges on economic development have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, making accession process even more stagnant. Therefore, on one hand, I encourage other WTO members to voluntarily join us in helping developing countries, particularly LDCs, on targeted capacity building in various areas. The commitments expected from LDCs should be commensurate to the capacities and development level. On the other hand, LDCs should also try their best to maintain the political patience and continue their momentum in accession through actively participating relevant meetings and capacity building activities. Third, China believes actual budgetary funds like China program should be encouraged by members as they are making great contributions to helping developing countries, especially LDCs, integrate into the WTO. We strongly urge beneficiaries of the WTO capacity building to actively participate in the discussion in Committee of Financial and Budget Administration. On the establishment and the improvement of these funds, it's important for us who care capacity building, care the mobilization of resources to ensure such discussion and further steps to stay in the right direction. In conclusion, I would like to assure you that as a staunch supporter of the WTO and the multilateral trading system and the largest developing country. China is always willing to shoulder international responsibility commensurate to its capacity by providing public goods and helping the ODCs through WTO framework and other channels like Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, Belt and Road Initiative, and bilateral channels. ODCs can count on China's continued support in this regard. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for sharing your views on the benefits and future of the China program and for the support provided by your country over the years. Indeed, these were very encouraging remarks by you. I'm sure our audience will also agree with me. I would like to, at this point, I would like to thank all speakers for sharing your views and assessments on the achievements and future of the China program from your various perspectives. Now I'd like to open the floor for an open discussion. If you would like to make a statement, please raise your hand and our technical team will promote you to a panelist. Please do accept join as a panelist so that you can take the floor. For questions only, please use the Q&A box and I will bring your question to our panelists' attention. To start the discussion, I would like to pose a question here. Essentially that, as we've heard during the course of the roundtable over the last 3 days, the China program has achieved great success in the past 10 years. What do you think are the key reasons for its success? I would like to pose this to Ambassador Lee to begin with, and if the other panelists would like to join in and answer it, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali, for your question. This is a very good question. I think there are many elements to its success. With this chance, I would like to extend my special thanks to the Secretariat for the always careful manner and tireless efforts on managing China program in the past 10 years. My thanks also go to ODC's always active participation and support to the China program. Among all the elements, I think the core should be concluded as one word: targeted, which I mentioned in my previous statements for several times. First, the China program targets mainly on ODCs who are often faced with unique sets of challenges, requiring dedicated support and capacity building to undertake the necessary reforms to join the WTO. For example, the accession internship pillar has effectively facilitated and advanced ODC's accession negotiations. And 69% of the total interns are selected from Africa where capacity building is needed most. Some of the interns said every task in the accession division is challenging and pushing them to the limits of accountability, so that they could better understand the operation of multilateral trading system and how ODCs could actively and positively participate in this system. Second, the China program also focuses on ODC's urgent needs to better integrate into the multilateral trading system. For instance, the Pillar 3 provides funds for ODC's coordinators to participate in meetings related to aid for trade, as well as other selected WTO meetings. The annual South-South dialogue provides platform for the ODCs to communicate directly with high-level officials from developing members and reach out to partners to advance topics of mutual interests. As to the roundtable, just like the DG said in her remarks 2 days ago, it has become the annual rendezvous for accession negotiation, serving as a platform to share experience and lessons. Third, The different division of WTO Secretariat target different pillars of China program. The 5 pillars are implemented by 4 different divisions of the Secretariat, letting professional people managing professional issue ensures the implementation quality of China program. Last year, China successfully eliminated extreme poverty across the country. In this anti-poverty war, the word of the tactic is definitely the key to success. And China hopes the successful experience of the domestic poverty reduction could better serve its goal of assisting ODCs. We also hope the China program could maintain and improve its function by providing ODC more targeted and tailor-made help. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you, Ambassador. That was a very comprehensive answer, and indeed it was enlightening. There's another question from the floor, which is there essentially which says that whether there's a post-accession assistance program for LDCs? I think this has been posed more than once, so if somebody could answer this, this would be great. I would start with a response from you, Ambassador, but if the other panelists would like to address it as well.
Pardon, Ali, could you repeat the question?
Yes, I think there's a question from the floor which has been asked by more than one person, which is if there is a post-accession assistance program funded by the Chinese. Now, I think a lot of it has already been answered by yourself with regards to the South-South dialogue, TPR follow-ups.
Yes.
Assistance to LDCs to participate in WTO meetings. Just so to dwell a bit more on that question, if you could just reiterate those points so that the person gets the view from you.
I think for this question, just like I already mentioned, the 5 pillars under the China program already cover the most of the WTO affairs. So I think for the post-accession period, the China program can continually support the developing countries, especially the LDCs, to better integrate into the WTO system, provide more the capacity building assistance on the specific issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. That was comprehensive. I'm sure the question was answered. There's a question addressed to Ms. Martins de Silva. What events or opportunities during the internship do you feel best prepared you to help support Timor-Leste's accession?
Thank you for the question. I believe during my internship experience, 10 months is indeed quite an adequate amount of time to have really been exposed to a lot of opportunities that are provided at the WTO Secretariat. I think this also linked to why the China program is quite successful through this internship program is that my opportunity to really have a strong mentorship and a dynamic team that I'm working with at the accessions division in particular is by learning by doing through working on acceding government's dossiers and understanding the stages of accessions. I think that is really a tangible great opportunity for myself at that time to learn and then understood, knowing that Timor-Leste's accession at that time had just commenced being an observer country. And I think that was really I would place that as the most important and most successful experience for myself in learning that. But at the same time, having that period of time, I also had the opportunity to explore other ongoing training programs, which I was also given the opportunity to participate at, and also participating in different types of meetings that I was interested in. I think that had been really provided me some perspectives on the overall and ongoing discussions on at the WTO on trade. And also, I also had the opportunity to maximize my internship to learn through the WTO e-learning platform, which I believe had really contributed greatly to my my knowledge on trade as a whole, and areas specifically that I had interests on, and also having the environment that I was exposed to with the young professionals around me had really helped me to explore and also to learn further and throughout my internship program. So these are really the areas that I would like to highlight, and that I believe to have really contributed to where I am at in contributing to the accession process of Timor-Leste. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your response, Maria Martins de Silva. It was, I'm sure it answered the question that was posed. There is another question that has come up in a different form. So, and many people have asked it, so I'll pose it myself just to kind of accumulate all the questions and then have it as one. As we know that the China program has achieved great success over the years. Ambassador Lee, do you have any thoughts with regards to the future of the China program?
Yeah, thank you, Lee, for the question. On the 10th anniversary, I think it's high time for us to summarize the past experience and reflect how to make improvements in the future. Although the China program is well designed initially and already pretty mature after 10 years of practice, I still heard many insightful ideas on the future of the China program during the 3-day roundtable, and we will seriously consider their feasibility and make adjustments accordingly in our future practice. In general, as I said before, China will continue to cooperate with the Secretariat and try our best to analyze the needs of acceding and acceded developing country and ODCs case by case, so as to provide them more and better targeted and tailor-made capacity building and other assistance through China program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ambassador Ahmed Makaila, would you like to also dwell a bit on this question with regards to how do you feel with regards to the future of the China program?
Merci. Merci beaucoup pour cette pertinente question.
Question. May I begin by saying a few words on what we've just heard, and particularly the success of the program? Indeed, it is a success. And in my view, the success, beyond what my colleague Ambassador Lee had said, is due to the diagnostic study that was rolled out. I think that this needs assessment for LDCs was not only very well done, but also allowed a resounding success in the implementation of the program. Now, the question that we've just heard on post-accession assistance, this question was raised, and in my view, if I can bear witness to this, with regard to a country that's still benefiting from assistance and all of the support that is being rolled out in terms of capacity building through the China program, I think, of course, the members appreciate it. And I'd conclude by turning to the future. In my view, the program has been implemented has been over the years implemented in a setting which is no longer the same. In earlier years, there was no COVID. And indeed, over the 10 years, many things have improved, whereas others have deteriorated. So I think that in the future, the program would benefit, and as Ambassador Lee himself has said, it would benefit from going through some form of review with a view to seeing how it can be improved. And I really do agree that there are sectors that can be improved, at least in our partnership. And I think that this would be very useful work. And the LDC group, of course, stands ready to launch such a discussion or dialogue with our partners, with China notably, but also the Secretariat, given the very large amount of work that it has put into this program. And I think together we can indeed make some improvements that are necessary for the program to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your comprehensive response. I have another question addressed to Mr. Tom Mbeki. The question is, what are the sets of challenges that fragile and conflicted affected states are facing that you think the China program can help address? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Basically, the fragile and conflict affected states are faced with capacity development constraints. Basically, the manpower development, the skill sets required for accession, the skills set required for post-accession implementation. There's a challenge, and the China program addresses that power development. So with capacity development, China program addresses that issue. And the ITTC has been very instrumental in that.
I think we're not getting
the second. Okay, are you getting me now? Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
I can hear you now.
Yes. I was saying fragile and conflict affected countries. Fragile and conflict affected states are faced with capacity building challenge, and the China program addresses this gap in capacity building for fragile and conflict affected states. Secondly, the second challenge has to do with resource constraints. These developed and fragile states lack the financial capacity to fully participate in WTO accession, specifically meetings or WTO-related meetings, and the China program there's a thematic area that addresses the participation in regards to fragile and conflict-affected states. And lastly, the last challenge has to do with delivering on their obligation when these countries succeed in becoming full-fledged WTO members. The representation of fragile and conflict-affected state members in Geneva has been key, and the China program has been very instrumental in that direction, in showing that least developed countries are represented, participating in WTO meetings, in showing that the trade interests individually and collectively are addressed. Specifically with regards to the trade policy review, I think the China program has been very critical in that direction, in showing that we can meet up with our obligations in reviewing our trade policies and being in guidelines with the WTO rules. And so that is the area we require more and continuous support from the Chinese government. So these are some of the challenges
We've lost.
Are you getting me, Mr. Usman?
I lost the last bit of your answer. Before that was okay.
Are you getting me now? Am I loud and clear?
We've lost you.
Am I loud and clear?
Now you are.
Am I loud and clear now?
Yes, now you are. We lost the last part of your answer. If you
yes, I stated that we face challenges in capacity development, resource constraint, and as well as the trade policy review presentation at WTO. So firstly, capacity development is a challenge for fragile and conflict-affected states, and the China program pillars address that, and participation in WTO meetings, meeting up with membership obligations. China program addresses that also, and the trade policy review mechanism, meeting up with that obligation, fragile states have been supported in that direction by the China program. And so we solicit continuous support from the government and people of China in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Tambeki. That was a comprehensive answer, and I'm sure your views will be taken on board as we move forward. There is another, not so much a question, there is a proposal that has been put out, and this is for something for the accessions division to consider. And the proposal essentially says it would be desirable to invite certain members of the WTO who are more than involved in the accessions process, including the United States and the EU. Now, I believe that the session yesterday invited Cecilia, who used to be a negotiator in the accessions process from the United States. So I think that's the first one. And then the second suggestion that has been made is that regarding the guideline for LDCs and accession, the person says I think it's a good thing for LDCs, but it's more theoretical than practical. It would be desirable for the Secretariat through the accessions division to reflect on the legal status of this document so that the LDC and accession can benefit from it. Now, I leave this to the accessions divisions to ponder over. There is one further question that comes up, which is that essentially, and it's, I mean, I'll address it to Ambassador Lee, but it's for all the panelists to answer, that Ambassador Lee, as part of China's negotiating team for accessions 20 years ago, from reflecting on this experience, do you have any suggestions for LDCs and others on advancing the accessions process under the current global environment?
Thank you, Ali, for your question. Yes, I had the honor to be a member of the negotiating team of China's accession 20 years ago, really long time. After the accession, I kept making reflection on WTO accession on the basis of China's experience. Here, I would like to share some of my personal views and advice. First, as the average accession process lasts almost over 12 years for LDCs, it's important for the LDCs to build a strong and stable negotiating team who have both the perseverance to maintain the momentum in the long run and the judging ability to catch fleeting opportunities by making bold and decisive decisions to advance and conclude the negotiation. China's accession had a large span of 15 years from the 1986 to 2001, during which China not only paid continuous effort in dealing with the issue of economic foreign trade system and market access, but also grasped precious opportunities to wrap up the negotiations and finish drafting the legal documents in the last 2 to 3 years, including reaching bilateral agreement with the US before its next election. Second, the WTO accession negotiation can be regarded by the LDCs as an initial force to advance domestic structural reform and opening up. Therefore, during the negotiation, acceding governments should try their best to persuade the stakeholders through interdepartmental coordination to change the stereotype that opening up is moving the cheese, and instead realize that protection is of the temporary nature and sometimes only protecting the backwardness. Opening the market and the increased competition will bring long-term benefits. The opening up following the initial reform will reward domestic reform with external dynamics, featuring a mechanism of reverse transmission of pressure. Before joining the WTO, the level of liberalization in many sectors in China is relatively low. The opening up has brought major changes to our legal system, government administration, and the people's mind. This has injected external dynamics into the reform and smashed the shackles of the physical and mental resistance. My last and the most important advice for the acceding LDC is to maintain the strong political determination on accession, especially in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. Based on the experience of China's economic development after the accession, I fully believe that LDCs can get the adequate share from the cake of globalization. I would like to encourage the acceding countries to stay resilient, focused, and work harder. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your response. Ms. Maria Martins de Silva, would you like to weigh in on this question with any remarks?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question again? And just to make sure that I would be able to respond. Sorry, I believe you're on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Moderator, sorry.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for LDCs and others in advancing the accessions process under the current global environment?
Thank you for repeating the question. I very much in agreement with what Ambassador Lee had just reiterated with strategies or mechanisms that we should approach in enabling or expediting accession process. In Timor-Leste's experience, what we have prioritized in really streamlining all the development partner support and really have this inclusive process in the accession since I would like to start from 2020 because that's where the process really kicks off, despite the fact that it has our accession process started in 2016 when we obtained our observer status. So since 2020, with strong political will, which I believe this needs to be, this needs to take place first before every technical process takes place. So with this strong political will that we, as meaning the technical team, had, we managed to bring together all the technical expertise that we had, national expertise that we had in the country from line ministries by really establishing a clear mandate for the technical team composed of line ministries or interministerial team to consolidate inputs based on questions that were raised by members. And further to that, to ensure to maximize this process, we also had this effort to have and approach different partners. Firstly, we had this support of the WTO Secretariat technical team, in particular with the coordination of the accessions division in bringing together different experts to organize training programs. Despite COVID, we had managed to participate in several training programs, which I believe has helped the team in moving forward with the succession process. At the same time, we're also organized a number of development partners meetings domestically, and also organizing it with the WTO Secretariat with development partners across the globe, which has, and as a result, we have obtained a number of technical support besides the WTO Secretariat in really building up the capacity of our team, and at the same time conducting a number of research in supporting the chief negotiator and the team in making a policy decision throughout the accession process. On the other hand, to ensure the inclusive participation of the accession process, we have also organized a number of consultation meetings, not only with the government officials or the government entity, but then across the state or the other pillars of the sovereign of the state sovereignty. So, meaning with the national parliament, with we also through the chief negotiator and the team have met with the president of the republic to ensure the full support in the accession process. And at the same time, we have held a number of consultation meetings with the private sector and the civil society organizations to ensure to obtain their recommendations and to hear on what their thoughts in the accession process. And I believe this has been very successful and where we are at in our accession process, where this process has really projected towards the public views and really just to build the awareness of the accession process itself is really important, really throughout our accession process, where we are at. Thank you very much. I hope that has answered your question. Thank you.
Yes, that was indeed very enlightening. Yes, it did answer it. My next question I have received here is addressed to the ambassador of Chad, Ahmed Makaila, as the LDC coordinator. The question is, how can the China program assist LDCs with issues such as climate resilience, which will disproportionately affect them in the future?
Merci beaucoup pour cette question. Effectivement, la question de la résilience au changement climatique est une vraie préoccupation pour les PMA. Vous savez que dans cette dynamique, ce ne sont pas forcément les pollueurs qui sont les payeurs. Et les pays du groupe des PMA subissent de plein fouet la question du changement climatique. Et je pense que c'est en lien aussi avec ce que j'avais dit par rapport à une certaine mise à jour du programme de la Chine. Et c'est aussi pour prendre en compte effectivement toutes les questions nouvelles, puisque il y a 10 ans, il y a 20 ans, nous ne connaissions pas les mêmes problèmes et qu'aujourd'hui, tout ce qui doit se faire en termes d'appui institutionnel, en termes de renforcement de capacité, bref, en termes d'accompagnement pour les PMA doit tenir compte effectivement des questions nouvelles. Et la question du changement climatique fait partie effectivement des questions nouvelles qui se posent en termes de défis pour les PMA, et il serait bien indiqué pour l'ensemble de nos partenaires et singulièrement pour la Chine d'intégrer effectivement cette nouvelle donne dans la mise en œuvre du programme. Et je dois avouer que cela fait partie effectivement de toutes les discussions que nous entendons, toutes les préoccupations que nous entendons soulever une fois que l'occasion nous sera donnée de parler effectivement de la mise à jour du partenariat qui est en cours dans le cadre de ce programme de la Chine.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your remarks. I'm sure they answered the question that was posed by the participant. I do not see any other questions that have not been answered in one way or another. So if there's any more questions to be posed, please do so. If not, I would like to invite all panelists, if they have any closing remarks to say at this point. You may or may not wish to say anything, but the floor is yours. Please go ahead if you have any closing remarks at this point. So I do not see any further questions coming through or any person raising their hands. With this in mind, I think this was a rich discussion on the achievements and future of the China program. I believe the discussion was lively, most questions were answered and a lot of insights provided. I would like to thank all of you for your participation and sharing your views. I I would also at this point like to thank the accessions division has worked extremely hard to make this China Roundtable a success. I would, if the director of the accessions division, Maika Oshikawa, would like to say a few words here, please, I would invite her to say a few words at this point regarding the China Roundtable.
Thank you, Ali. I wasn't planning to take the floor, but since you extended the invitation to join, now really all from our side, it's been really a privilege and a pleasure to be able to, a partner for this China Roundtable. And I think it's a big success, it's an achievement that we have actually done 10. And we've been not just been privileged, but we have each time we have learned something ourselves. And that this one was no exceptions. I think from this last session, I think, you have provided a lot of insight for how we want to move ahead with China program. And something we always like to do is to bring something new, and then new to ourselves, but also to the accession community. And I think we continue to look forward, not, also to looking for ideas. At the end of the day, this is a program for LDC, especially for LDC accession. And then I was very pleased to hear Ambassador's remarks of openness to, to open to new issues. So I think we look forward to collaborating with, of course, China, but of course, LDC group, and of course, all the acceding government, and Article 12 LDC. And by the way, I also see many of the non-LDC acceding government actually also following this session. And then I do believe that this is going not just acceding LDC, but all the acceding government, especially those who are in the fragile conflict affected countries. So we look forward to working closely with everybody. And with also thanks to you, Ali. I think without ITTC's, collaboration with ITTC, we could not have been able to deliver this program. And what I really wish for the next one will be an in-person event. With this, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maika, for your encouraging words, and thank you to all the participants. Again, I reiterate the point that it was an extremely lively, useful, and informative session. Indeed, the whole China Roundtable has been informative, and as Maika pointed out, every time we learn something new. This is so. With that in mind, I think we look forward to the next one. As Maika said, we all hope and wish that it's one in person. We were so close to it this year, unfortunately, but again, let's see it. The next one hopefully will be in person. Last but not the least, I would also like to thank the interpreters. They've done a fantastic job over the last 3 days. If there are no further questions or statements to be made, I would like to close this session, if that's okay. Well, once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to interacting with all of you sooner rather than later. With this, I close the session. Thank you.